Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Dentistry Beyond the Numbers. And today is an extremely exciting episode because I'm feeling a little nervous today. It's a little bit it's a lot out of my own element, which is dentistry, practice management, building great clinicians, but so important. Today, I'm introducing a really great opportunity for people to safeguard their own world, their practices, their largest asset, and that is called cybersecurity. And with us today, I am so glad to introduce and really happy to have Tasha Dickinson with us today. I just want to read a little bit about Tasha so we know who we're talking about. Tasha is a seasoned professional. Cybersecurity and data privacy is what she does. Tasha is the founder of Silligent Services, where she leads the onslaught of just cybersecurity and great technology advances to help us, the clinicians, and let's just talk about dentistry, keep and safeguard our practice. In today's episode, we're going to explore the critical importance of the robust cybersecurity measures, whether you're a small doc or a bigger doc, whether you're a big name or a little name, you've got to be secure. And with the average cost of data breach per event in this country right now, that's per event, big hospitals, big corporations, major consolidated dental groups at $9.5 million, we as dentists need to be aware. And the reason I'm bringing this in, and Tasha, you are the first non-dentist, I believe, maybe the second non-dentist that's on my podcast, but I feel that with all the talk of, all these intelligent products that come in to evaluate our data, to look at our recalls, to understand our insurance, we outsourcing more than ever. We need cybersecurity. And that's what today's really episode is all about. Without further ado, Tasha Dickinson, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I think it's so important that we talk about this because what we are putting in place is protecting your business. And this is not, the $9.8 million breach that's happening at a hospital. This is the four-operatory, $60,000 breach or the $1 million breach that you might have in just a standard dental practice.
So I want to just reiterate what was just said. I mean, could you imagine walking in to your office on a Monday morning and realize that someone is holding your entire life hostage, got into your software, has all your data from your patients, and your patients are not going to understand that. And we're going to get into that. But so whether you're a dental professional, a dentist, or an owner, you are or looking to sell your practice. Could you imagine that's happening when you have an offer for a great offer to buy your practice or multiple practices? That's what we're diving in today. My first question to you, Tasha, is why dentistry? I mean, you're all over, you know so much. Why did you pick dentistry?
Well, dentistry is obviously near and dear to my heart because my husband is a dentist. And I went through and watched him through the whole dental, education process and everything else. And so some of my best friends are dentists as well. And to sit there and watch them either be attacked, be succumbed to an attack or anything else, it was heartbreaking to know that nobody was going out there and really helping the way that dentists needed help. And so that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today.
Absolutely. Tasha and I are sitting here at the Chicago Midwinter Convention, and it is bustling. And I bring that in because I'm walking up and down the aisles, and there's off-site insurance claims. You could submit claims offshore. You can get recalls. You can get data. Everything is going out of my practice. Well, I don't want my practice to go out of my practice, Tasha, so we're going to really get into this. The average cost. Let's get into it. Understanding first the most important thing. I'm sitting here going, and I'm still involved with many practices, as many of you know, the average cost of a data breach, we talk about in healthcare sector, and more importantly, the implications of something in a dental practice.
Yeah. Well, and it's so hard too, right? When we see in the news all the time, Ascension Healthcare, Change Healthcare, right? All of those things, right? They're these big companies that lose millions of dollars. But most people don't realize that it happens more often and it happens every day to small dental practices. So, I mean, we had a practice right here in Chicago. They had 4 operatories and they had just closed on their practice early last year. Right, exactly that time. And, people come to me all the time with, well, I'm thinking about it and I don't know what I want to do. But I got a call Labor Day weekend that said, I have an emergency. And they had come in over the weekend.
Current customer or just some?
Now is a current customer, right? They had started the conversation, which was how she knew to call me. So lucky. Every single day she says, I'm so thankful that this is working out. But, the point is, let's think about what happens before. But can you imagine coming in on Sunday and seeing all of your servers, no access to your practice management system, your server is locked, your panel machine is locked. And in that case, they said, we have your data and we are locking you out. And
so they literally hold you ransom.
In this case, they held them.
We had a practice in, I'm not going to say where, but it's been, and I just recall it now in the group I'm in, Guardian. We had a practice that really suffered from cybersecurity ransom. And it is an expensive endeavor. And my concern is with the larger groups that are growing, they have internal security. And some of them don't. Right. Some of them overlook it, because I was talking to Tasha earlier and I said, with all the things going out, we email our iteros, everything is sent through the web, and we're going to get into the web. I look at this as pathways of infection. I look at this as pathways to come into my practice and create pus and uncomfortableness and grossness. But really what it's going to do at the end of the day is, just like Tasha said, shut down the practice.
Yeah.
You have to cancel your patients and deal with these people who could be in any country in the world. Am I right?
Yep. And so when you really look at the cost, and it's not always in the ransom either. Most people think, oh, I've been ransomed, and so this is the cost. But especially as we have these pathways of infection, which I love, right? There are so many different ways that your data and your business can be breached, right? You can't have that open door to come in. So when we look at the cost, yes, there's the cost of the ransom and everything else, and that averages anywhere between $60,000 and $1 million. In the case that I was just talking about, it was $4,000. And we never paid it. That wasn't even the cost of that breach. What ends up happening is the first person you need to call is actually incident response. Your computers are now a crime scene. And so you need somebody to come in and forensically look at, was there data that was lost? Because then you have requirements by our government that you have to report and everything else. In this case, there wasn't any data breach. And that's what's so flabbergasting, that it still cost her as much money as it did, and there was no actual data breach. She didn't pay a ransom, so the ransoms can run $60 to $1.2 million ish is what we're hearing. And then there was the incident response team that came in. They start at $30,000 to come in. Then there's the lawyers and the breach coaches. They also $30,000 to come in. And if it's a long breach, then how much do you pay your lawyer and how long do you want to pay them for? We had one doctor who was talking about just the cost of the certified mail to go out if there was a breach would bankrupt you. Right. And so these are the real costs.
That is amazing.
I do want to get in, if you don't mind. There was somebody that was attacked, unfortunately, this past summer. They were a larger oral surgery group. And when you looked up their attack, because I was, doing research and everything else, the first one is their website. The second one was a law office that said, if your data has been breached and you have received a number, then please give us a call so that we can help you file a lawsuit against that. When Ascension Healthcare was breached back in early April timeframe, within 2 days, they had $25 million worth of legal lawsuits that were filed against them already by patients.
HIPAA rules.
Well, that they had lost their data and they had safeguarded or thought that they were safeguarding this data. So when you look at the cost of
much more than just cost,
not just a ransom that most people think. So when you think about how data is getting breached, email systems, that brand spanking new AI system, right? If they get breached, that's still your responsibility that you have.
That's exactly what Tasha just said, is why we're talking about that on Dentistry Beyond the Numbers, because I feel that us dentists, we are CEOs. We are chief officers and COOs. We have to safeguard our livelihood. Your assistant, your front desk, your great manager, they should be involved in helping you. But Tasha brings real life numbers. I'm telling you, I remember the devastation this practice went through and the discussions you have. It really is, incredible. I want to get into something that happened to me about a month and a half, 2 months ago. I was traveling overseas. I get back, my banker calls me and says, Doc, you have your account, one of your checking accounts was found on the dark web. Now, I'll be honest with you. I don't know what the dark web is. I always think it's something we watch on TV and porn channel or something that I don't go there. So, I mean, we leave it alone. But now we're talking about dark web having all our information. And I say to my banker, I said, dark web? Where is that? Like, is that a place? And she said, we got to shut your accounts down.
Yep.
Now, just picture this, right, Tasha? That's your dental office.
Yeah.
And that's where it's located, on the dark web. My question to you is, how does new patient joins you about 3 weeks ago, comes in, you call them and said, there's a data breach. Never happened in 10 years that I saw Dr. Smith. I'm done with you.
Yeah.
So do you see the loss even real? I mean, patients don't feel the trust. They don't care if you gave them a good needle. They'll find somebody else with better security.
Yeah. So consumer confidence is one of those, untangible pieces that you cannot necessarily replace. And dentistry, right, we know in our practices that's such an important part. That trust that you have between your dentist is so important. And so when you have something like a breach that has to be publicly announced, it's hard to then convince patients to put your trust in us, to come to us. And so 60% of consumers will make a decision now based on whether you have had a breach or what that image is.
So what you're really saying is, for all of us CEOs of our dental offices, is that I'm looking at all of these different softwares to streamline, take away an employee. Let's face it, everyone's coming out to reduce our payroll, but we need to understand that part of that, we need to be secure.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that all this, like, I do have a question though, and I wanted to ask, what about Mary is closing down the office. She does the backup.
Yeah.
Is that enough?
Well, I think there's prevention, right? What can we do to prevent somebody from getting into our systems? But there's also preparation. What can we do to weather? Because it's going to happen. And so, how we do the backups and everything else, I think there's a few things that you can put into place that are going to help you weather that storm. And the first one is going to be insurance. You need to have
I
insurance.
was just going to ask you, there is insurance on this.
There is insurance. I want people to understand at the same time, though, just like we get car insurance, right? We get car insurance, but we don't drive 100 miles per hour down the street without seatbelts, right? So insurance has learned that there are things that you need to put into place. So be smart when you're filling out that insurance form, that you have the right things in place. And there are things that...
Let me interject that from a business owner. If we hire Silligent and they come in, do we get a reduction of premiums? Good question, Doc. We're always looking for a little buck here and there, everybody. So the idea is that I would imagine if I hire a cybersecurity firm and have insurance at a reduced rate, I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
And how foolproof are you?
Well, I mean, I think we do our best. And I can tell you that a majority of the people who I work with, when we have these in place, we are able to prevent a lot of what happens. For us, it's everything so far. But I don't want to have a target on my back.
Right.
We know that people are smart. And one of the things I want to say is, your biggest assets, your people, are also your biggest liability. We can loft down a computer without a problem. But when you think about how helpful your front desk staff is and how helpful everybody is, they want to click on links and they want to get it done for you, or they want to make sure that they have this done for the next patient. They can inadvertently bypass everything that we put into place. So, working with somebody who can understand what all that risk is to your business and help prioritize and help you spend wisely to help protect your business to keep it up and running is important, and will in the long run save you money in many ways.
Amazing that this is now in front of us. I've been in dentistry for 30 years, and it first came digital, impressions or scanning impressions, and then digital x-rays and doing crowns in office. But this is all actually, when we scan everything, it's open to the web. But what's the value of a patient? I can see just when you're talking, there's some guy or some gal with a 3-chair office in a pretty town in Jersey that's saying, or a pretty town in Pasadena that's saying, I don't need this. I got a 3-chair. Then my girls watch over me. But really, with all the things that are going on, we need it now
It doesn't matter.
And it's here.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, I had one office that came to me to share her story. She was in a one stoplight town. She didn't even lock her doors. But when you're connected to the internet, you are everywhere. And so the person who we went through recently, right, it was nation state actors from Iran that had hacked into her system. But it can also be things like
Web.
the dark web, right?
You're in. I'm the believer.
But it could also be like, I had somebody who came to me and said, we didn't even know that we had lost control of our email. They had gotten into their email systems and through that changed the ADP passwords, and they didn't change anything else, but they went in and changed every single account number and routing number. And what ended up happening was for 2 weeks, the doctor sent the entire payroll to somebody else. And just like that. I mean, can you imagine taking that hit? What is your payroll, right? I'm not going to ask it, but you know it's big because this is what we do. But can you imagine losing 2 payroll cycles to somebody else that you will never get back again?
Wow.
And that wasn't a hack. That wasn't ransomware. That was losing track of systems that were going in and out that are outside of our practices. So all those routes of infection, they are opportunities. And the question is, how do we protect from this? And it might feel overwhelming, but there are things you can do. And the biggest thing you can do is actually a risk assessment. And that is something that you can do yourself. You can go to the NIST website. You can get somebody like me to do that. But they go in and put a treatment plan together for you. They come in and they figure.
She is a dentist, Whitey. The Dell is. I think we're going to talk diagnosing soon.
Exactly, right? So if we can get that treatment plan put together, you can see for yourself where are big forms of risk and what can we do to help protect my business.
We're talking about this, but wow, I tell you why I think it's so important. I'll go into a practice. I'll ask the doctor, tell me, how many new patients did you get last month? The doctor will say, let me ask Millie. I go, what'd you do in production last month? Millie has those numbers. Now we're doing a little bit of a sea change. We're asking these owners, these business owners, and I got to tell you, all this talk, I can also see a 60-year-old, 65, 68-year-old gal who wants to hold on, but saying, I'm giving it up.
Yeah.
There's too much. And they may be right, because right now, people who are stealing our information, they don't know our gross revenue.
Oh, yes, they do.
They know our gross revenue.
So when you think about, right, Winery Shine, you think about some of those hacks, in reality, they weren't after private information. They were after learning more about our industry. They can tell through how many gloves that you've ordered, right? And they can tell through industry information. They'll probably know exactly how much to ask for because they know your business through operatories, ordering information.
I got a
right?
little scary right now.
Think about Change Healthcare, right? Every single one of our insurance verifications for how long, somebody has that information and it is on the dark web. And I can tell you it didn't get wiped off when, do we trust criminals that when we ask for our data back, do we think they're actually going to give it back to us, right? It's out there.
That's so scary.
And I think when we think about, too, with our patients, I mean, you brought that up. What is it really worth and why would they even bother with us, right? But our patients' data is worth something as well. It's worth anywhere between $500 and $1,500 on the dark web because they can call up our patients and say, I see that you had a crown that was done. Can I take, payment for that? They can conduct fraud.
What about credit cards left on file? What about payment left on file? In New York practices, just like any other practice, you have some people that have means and they keep a credit card on file because they'll refer people, they'll pay for people. I know I have a couple of particular, celebrities that have their whole family come thank God. And I'm just wondering, could you imagine the trust they put in us?
Yeah.
Then to find out that their credit card, that black card, or that green card, doesn't matter the card, is now on the web.
Yeah.
That is scary.
I mean, and if you think about it too, the recent incident response that we just went through, I just was talking to her front desk person and she said, the loss of confidence I have every single day and not knowing if this is going to happen to me is terrifying. And when you think about it, that's for an employee at the practice who saw everything that we put into place after, unfortunately, that happened. If you think about those patients and you think about having to come and having to tell your patients that I lost your data,
Can't imagine.
How can you then stand up and say, trust me, it's okay to do this. I'll take care.
Know that I'm a hot mess when it comes to everything else. You know, I really, really think this is I think I'm really amazed because I am a target.
Yes.
And we are all targets. My question is, if somebody's saying, maybe we should have kept to the charts. Maybe we should have kept to non-digital. I hear stick the goop in your mouth. I don't have to scan it. I mean, have we opened this up to ourselves? Everyone's running to AI. Everyone's running.
Yeah.
The shiny penny, the new dentist coming out. They're all looking, they type quicker than I could talk. Have we done it to ourselves? And now there's a misconception. Well, cybersecurity is overrated. I don't need that. So
I actually heard somebody who said you shouldn't get cybersecurity insurance the other day because they'll never pay. I was just floored that that is even getting talked about. But I do want to talk about like technology, but in reality, this comes down to your business. And that is the important thing, right? That your business is up and running every single day and that we make it as easy and as smooth as possible. That is what technology was built for. And so in the rest of the world in the industries, maybe not quite dentistry yet, there are tools that we can put into place that help safeguard and protect that and help prevent a lot of that. Now, I will never stand up and say 100% I can, make sure it never happens. But we know that the tools we have in place are really good tools. And we know that we can make sure you can continue to do your business while we put the right protections into place.
let me ask you, training just before, I would really like to dive deep into some of the numbers.
Yeah.
Because I know we're just doing, but I want to know for practice owners, clinicians starting out, I think it's the young doctors that are coming out to have a better understanding than some of us docs. Because we're a little bit thinking, it can't affect me, until it did. Affected my bank account. I had to switch banks. I had to cancel checks. I looked bad. Envision that being a patient that just had their information. They don't know where it is. They don't know the credit cards. It's really scary. So do you teach these doctors this important? How do you, where do you do? Let's got one on paper hanger. I mean, how do you do it? How do you get out there and really talk to them about this?
Yeah, well, I think it comes down to risk and business, right? It's knowing, again, like this business is my business. It is my income as well. I get it. And I think it's helping dentists understand that there is a risk to your business. And the question is, what can we do to reduce that risk? I mean, you carry malpractice insurance, but you never go in and say, I'm going to have a bad day today and I'm not going to, right? You do your best. You take CE, you do all of the things right. And yes, it might happen. That's why you have insurance, but you work every single day to protect that practice. And so do we, right? So we come in because it is so important to us to help protect your practice, because I see that not everybody is paying attention to it. And we do a ton of CE and we find out what the best things are that we can put into place. And there are things that are, really have been proven by IBM and Apple and everybody else. Training is one of them, right? Put some things that can be put into place that are going to move the needle and help protect you.
I want to ask you this. It just comes to mind only because of staff. I mean, we hire people, I call them team players, teammates. Is there any value to them taking?
Yes, 100%, right? Like I said,
I'm not prompted, everybody. It's just the New Yorker in me thinks no matter what, those pathways of infection are coming to get us.
Yeah.
So here's somebody who can really police us. And I'm finding this fascinating because I know what call I'm making in about 10 minutes. We got to get this online, but tell this. I mean, it's
so right. When you're coming to a professional like us, and there are others out there, right? We have a list of things that we know are your greatest risks, and we will come in through a risk assessment and we create, that plan of action,
playbook,
that treatment plan, and we'll take a look at and cross-reference it with what we know is going to move the needle. You highlight training. Training is one of the best things that you can invest in. And making we call it the human firewall, right? Making your team help protect your business. Because just as we talked with that office manager, she never wanted to go through that again. She is the first person and my biggest advocate for putting things into place. But it's terrible that we had to suffer first before we put it into place. And why?
I remember when I was composites, composites were great. And a lot of people had sensitivity with composites. They would go home and buy this, you get a call. And I had some sleepless nights, just like when you have sleepless nights about payroll numbers. I would imagine that, yeah, I know now you just destroyed 2 nights of sleeping. But I mean, for the next 2 nights, I got to double up on something. But I might be drinking tonight. But the fact is that this is really a sleepless episode. I mean, this is really sleepless. This is information to act on to get that cybersecurity assessment, because we can wake up one morning and be void of any information, having to spend 50, 60, 100 grand. I would imagine if they see you're a $2 million practice, they're not going to ask you for 4 grand.
No.
They're going to ransom you, and they don't care if you go through a week, a month, 6 months of downtime, but you're not paying your bills. I think this is incredible. But let's get into the assessment. I mean, you do that online. Everything is done.
Everything is
virtual. So it's
because it's the same thing as an attack, right? For the most part, I mean, if you remember the Children's Hospital, Laurie Children's Hospital, somebody let somebody in with a USB stick. They said, I'm from your IT department. They said, yep, our server is right over there. Most likely that isn't going to happen in a small practice. In a small practice, it's going to happen with the click of a button. It's going to happen. For this one, there was a vulnerability in a firewall, right? There's a whole bunch of different opportunities. So we use the same tools that are available on the dark web, because you could become a hacker tomorrow. Did you know that? You could just download all those things from the dark web that now you're on.
When I play golf, they call me a hacker. I don't know. I'll stay away from the hacking. That's about all I know about hacking. But honestly, that is incredible.
It's out there. And so we have tools that have been co-opted so that we can test to see how well your systems are going to withstand some of these things. And that's what starts and is kind of that fundamental risk assessment for us. We can tell you where your vulnerabilities are.
I just had a thought. I'm sorry, because I am looping with this, that I have a staff member or an associate or a hygienist or myself, but are on certain websites. They shouldn't be in our computers, in our offices. So it doesn't have to be somebody who's looking for you through your main software or your main PMS. There could be somebody, a temp, somebody that's searching something they shouldn't be, or they are, and it's become virused. Now there's an avenue.
Oh, yeah. And we had somebody, a fellow person, they had hired a third party to do their billing. And they had, go ahead, open up, you can use our email. So that happened. And they hit, it's okay to sync. They synced all of their office passwords out to this third party's laptop. And then they had sync again on, and it synced to her phone. And the phone got cloned at Starbucks. And somebody, third party, had started calling this partner of mine and said, hey, did you know all of these passwords are showing up all of a sudden on the dark web? And they were able to go in and stop it. But can you imagine how quickly that happened? And how quickly, I mean, within a half an hour, most of the time, people are able to get in there and
all right, so let's go through this. Before we do, I just want to remind everyone what Tasha said. Stay away from Starbucks. If you really need coffee, worry yourself, because that is a hot mess for cybersecurity reasons. But I didn't say that. I mean, obviously, it's pick your Starbucks as you have. But I find drive-through is always safe. But before I get into this, I think this has been amazing and a real eye-opener for me personally, and I hope it is for everyone, because this is value. Give me an idea. I come in, breach has happened, pick up the phone, call Silligent.
Yep.
What am I looking at? Forget the breach. We're going to satisfy the breach. But let's say we do it now, doctors. We do it now. We get an evaluation with Tasha, who has been some really great podcasts explaining this. I've listened to her. She's, and I can tell you now, she has a great knowledge of this. This is what she does. And having dentistry in a bloodline, it really helps us tremendously understanding treatment plan, diagnosis, and infections. But what am I looking at? I call you up. What's the cost? Cybersecurity. Give me an idea. I'm a business owner. We all need to know costs.
Well, I think there's a couple of questions that I always go through that even say, like, does this make sense for you? Right? Maybe you are all on paper charts and that's all I get. So it's such a tiny.
In Gary's world, it probably makes sense for over 70% of the practices.
I would say,
if not more,
every practice should have the conversation to start off with, right? So we always are there. There are resources out there, either through me or through somebody else, free. Let's have the first conversation. Let's frame it. to do a risk assessment, right, we're taking time. So it's an hourly rate that we go in, usually per PC that we attach, that we want to go in and look at every single PC. Some people do really lightweight risk assessments for free. And I don't want to say that I'm the only person to do that. You can do it for free by yourself through the National Institute of Security.
We don't know free cybersecurity. We know dentistry.
My husband can produce in an hour more than I charge for risk assessments. Right? Why? Right? Why would you not? Right? So risk assessments really just depend upon the practice, how big they are, and everything else. And it just comes out to an hourly rate. Take your hourly rate. It's probably about what a risk assessment would cost, just because I kind of know that.
She's shrewd, very shrewd. We'll leave it at that for that number. But then there's a monthly fee.
Yep.
And
because, right, that question of when do attacks happen, they happen at 2 o'clock on a Saturday morning.
They're not happening when we're in the office.
Right. So we're there watching over. We run what we call 24-hour SOC systems, which is the Security Operations Center. We're watching those alerts that are coming in. You get to sleep. Me and some of my do not get to.
This is something that is the 2025 reason for staying up. What? Breach of your information, stealing your patient's personal information, losing your practice, whether it be somebody inside that did something they shouldn't have or looked at something they shouldn't have, or somebody is attacking us as we speak. I think it's kind of amazing.
Can only leave with one free thing. If you put this into place, okay, if you went and got insurance, you had a great insurance broker and you got cyber insurance and answered questions. If you had a removable hard drive that you took of your database and all the important information, you unplugged that from the computer. With those two things, you could survive an attack. Now, it's still going to cost money. There's still going to be things, but your business will survive the attack. No cost, right? If I could get everybody just to do that, I would be happy. If you want to go the route of, I think everybody should go the route of let's talk about risk, let's talk about how we can make our lives better so that we're always practicing and our business is up and running and protected, then that's what we get into. But I really want people to understand that there are routes that you can take that are free that will help with all of this.
I want to ask you this before Tasha already is exiting and I got stuff there. But no, I want to really drill that down because let's go with a $50,000 breach and a yearly peace of mind. That's got to be a percentage of that 50 grand.
Yeah.
Correct? So what I'm saying is from a cost basis, I could be down for weeks and it could cost me money for lawyers, for cybersecurity people, and to get my information back.
Yep.
So now's the time. I mean, as I said before, half this place today at the convention, by the way, it's got a great crowd and a lot of good stuff, but it is all web-based stuff. It's crowns being milled and they're milled all over. And then there's, and now you've got AI coming into effect. All the intelligence, the software, we talk about it. Tasha Dickinson, this is something that could be, I can't imagine not incorporating something like this when you're doing starting a new office.
And I think that's the hard part, right? As dentists, you guys go and you learn so much about how to do fillings, how to do crowns, how to do wax ups, right? Nobody went and taught you how to run a business necessarily. And if you look at businesses outside of the dental industry, this is a line item. It is a budgeted line item. And technology, cybersecurity, all of that is baked into the cost of running a business. And I want people to understand that when you're looking at a business, this should be a line item for you.
That's amazing. So I guess that's another line item when we're planning our business, but that's a line item that keeps your money and keeps your practice together. I think this has been an incredible informational driven type of podcast that really enlightened me. I know where I'm going for my next 5 minutes. But in all fairness, I urge everyone to please contact Tasha Dickinson. I find her to be amazingly knowledgeable. I don't know any other company that has somebody that you could really talk to. For our listeners, I would like to post something, how they can reach you. Is there a number or something, an email, or you want to give, or should we just post it on the pod?
Well, I think, my website is a great place to do it. Silligent.com.
Silligent.com. That's SIL.
Gent.com.
So that's SILIGENT.com, Silligent.com. Right. And reach out to Tasha because we are. And the reason I say that is as you're growing, the young, and as you want to sell, could you imagine having an amazing transaction like the practice? Yeah, I'm all set to sell 3 offices, right? And all of a sudden you get a data breach in one. I guarantee you your buyer is gone because they're gone or they're delayed, and that will change the price. I really say that this is a great resource. It's educational, it's demanding, and as we grow with all our technology, we should sleep at night
Yeah.
and sleep well.
Yeah.
And I think Tasha's like an Ambien. Let's call Tasha the Ambien of dentistry right now, because I must tell you, sleeping is a great commodity in my life. So I will say thank you so much.
Super
I hope
happy.
you enjoyed it as much as I did, because I loved it. And I think everybody out there should really look into this. It's incredibly important. Thank you, Tasha Dickinson. Tell Dr. Dickinson he was very involved. We love it. We know that Dr. Dickinson now does wax ups, which is really rare because she spilt it. But thank you so much. I want to leave everyone with, please remember, everything that we need to run our businesses is what I've experienced in my career. And I want to bring people on like Tasha Dickinson to really explain to you what's out there and what you have to be aware of. We have some great people coming on: Howard Ferran, Gordon Christensen, Kim Cooch. They're all being interviewed. Tasha Dickinson. We have people that are really going to grow us as people, as businesses, as practices, so we can give the great patient experience. And remember, Dentistry Beyond the Numbers will be back. I'm Dr. Mark Lighttongue. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time. Whew. That was one of the smartest ladies I've spoken to in dentistry. I mean, she just has a real pulse of not only her company, but the industry, and having a husband that's immersed in really quality dentistry really seems to have taken her and her company to a new level. I really love this episode because without it, like I made the analogy during the episode, I went to bed with sleepless nights worrying about composite sensitivity. Then I was worrying about implant stability. Now I'm worried about cybersecurity. So as you take it, it's our job as business leaders, as business owners, to protect our employees' information, to protect our patients' information, and protect our own information. This is our livelihood. That was an amazing episode. Tasha Dickinson, thank you for such a wealth of knowledge. We'll see you next time on Dentistry Beyond the Numbers.